Apparently now in the hotels, the migrants leave their clothes in numbered bags, and a laundry service comes, picks them up, takes them away, washes them, brings them back in their numbered bag.
Yeah. If the third world wants to develop and be better, then they need to keep their best and their brightest, and they need to work harder and be better, or they stay the way they are. Maybe how they are is good enough for them. It's a bit racist. You don't understand their culture. Honestly, I'm getting quite offended now how racist you are.
Rupert Lowe on Twitter, I saw a letter he published, was basically from a verified source, a teacher in an academy, who was describing their academy was getting full of refugees from a local hotel or whatever. The state pays for their uniforms, it pays for their meals at the college as well, pays for translators as well. And this person was saying not only all that, but the other students are failing because of the inconvenience or the disruption to the classes because of these non-English speaking migrants. But they've been given education now.
Again, this isn't new. I saw this 20 years ago in primary schools in Manchester, where you have primary schools where 14 languages were being spoken, where children would turn up in primary school, they couldn't speak English. So the primary school is spending all their time and resources on, 20% of the kids, 30% of the kids who don't speak English. And all the white kids who speak English are being ignored because we've got to get these kids who don't speak English up to a certain level. So when we bring in new problems, it's a bit like in a swimming pool when you've got a lilo. You stand on one part of the lilo, the other part of the lilo jumps up, and that's another problem. So the more we have these problems coming in and we try to fix them, we're neglecting something else, which then becomes a problem. We're going on for decades and decades.
Apparently now in the hotels, the migrants leave their clothes in numbered bags, and a laundry service comes, picks them up, takes them away, washes them, brings them back in their numbered bag.
Yeah.
That's nice, isn't it?
Just like why they leave the windows open all day, because it's too hot, the heating's on all the time.
Wesley Winter, I think you're going to be interviewing him. He went down to the Crest de Court because I think there was a demonstration on, basically. And like I say, it was they were obviously paid activists with the same identical signs. I don't know whether, I think, is it Hope Not Hate that buses them in or whatever?
I don't know. Hope Not Hate, it's Refugees Welcome.
Yeah.
It's it's Unison. Yeah. Union. Why unions?
Yeah.
This I don't know.
And they were saying things that he was speaking to the activists, the anti-racists, or whatever they call themselves, and they were saying very nebulous things. I thought, like, oh, we need to be a welcoming country. We need to welcome people from war-torn environments and look after them. And what's the answer to that, Nick? If somebody said that to you, what would you say?
No. If these countries want to be better, then their young men need to stay and build a better country. Attracting cowards to run away from their country and abandon their families and come here isn't the answer. If the third world wants to develop and be better, then they need to keep their best and their brightest, and they need to work harder and be better, or they stay the way they are. Maybe how they are is good enough for them. Have we ever thought about that?
Yeah.
Do the people in Nigeria or South Africa think, this is all right? I'm happy here. It's crap compared to what I see on YouTube, but I'm happy living here. Well, that's fine. We have neighbours next door to each other. Well, one has a nice clean garden and nice house, and the other one's a bit of a dump. But they're both as happy as each other. If one wants to live in a dump, one doesn't.
Yeah.
And countries are exactly the same.
Yeah.
So let's stop stealing their people. It's a modern slavery. Stop stealing their people, leave them alone, and let them live the way they want to live. That's the answer.
And what's the answer to Britain? Should Britain, as a civilized country, should be doing this? Should be looking after people from less civilized countries and benefiting them?
Well, I'd say to that woman who said that at that demonstration, you sound like a white racist to me. So you're telling me that these black and brown people need white people to save them? So are you saying we're better than them? Is that what you're saying? So they've come here for a better life because we provide a better life. It's a bit racist. You don't understand their culture. Honestly, I'm getting quite offended now how racist you are. And that's how we tackle that stupidity of those questions. We tell them that they're racists.
I think the thing that was really interesting, the Wesley Winter thing, when he was talking to the paid activists, the refugees can have my pussy or whatever they say. They were very aggressive. Even though he wasn't doing anything wrong, they were very aggressive. He was just saying, "Why are you here?" And then one was saying he's a fascist, and that, and they were doing the camera thing.
Yeah.
When he was talking to the sort of middle-aged white people over the road with the British flag, saying that
Friendly.
they were really nice, really friendly, really open, explaining the problem to him very clearly. You could really see where his empathy lay, basically.
I've not seen the video, but let me ask you this question, because I think I can guess the answer. Were one of those groups heavily masked?
Yes. Quite a few of them had, or they called COVID. You know this.
Yeah.
COVID.
So that's not because of COVID, that's because it hides their identity.
Yeah.
So they're masked.
Yeah.
Where the other group of people are quite open and don't mind their faces being, because they know they're doing nothing wrong.
Yeah.
And you know, and they're doing what they do. Anybody who has to hide their identity on those sort of demonstrations, for me, shows me that they're normally violent lunatics and don't want to be identified.
Yeah. Well, he was asked a few, but he said, "Where are you from?" And they said, "Oh, I'm not around here." And he said, "Well, where are you from?" And the guys wouldn't answer. So they were being very aggressive, and then a couple of guys afterwards kind of went after it, basically.
Went them up.
Yeah. So I think it's very clear when you watch that who's actually got the moral high ground there. Certainly. Yeah.
There will come a time where they're going to be attacked and have their heads kicked in. I can see that coming. They've been pushing and pushing and pushing. And all it takes is a football crew to decide they're going to start fighting this. And there's a demonstration. They're the ones who look like Antifa. And we're going to have a go at them. And then we'll see what happens.
I wonder if it'll come from football. That's an interesting point, actually. Because probably one of the most organised kind of demographics is football, is the football team.
And it's based around tribalism.
Yeah.
So the whole fighting violence is all innate tribalism. All it takes is someone to expand that, being Man U or Man City or Everton, and say, no, we're now fighting for the country.
Yeah.
It's a little jump.
Yeah. I think it is a little jump for the football guys, because I think a lot of them think that way anyway.
Yeah.
There's a very interesting video, and I think I mentioned it before, but I actually saw it for the first time, and it's in Ireland. And there's a young white Irish girl sitting next to an African migrant girl, and they speak to the Irish. I don't know what the show is.
Yeah.
They speak to the Irish girl first, and she says, "Oh yeah, I'm a single mum. I've got a little baby, 3 years old or whatever. And I was living in such and such. I couldn't keep up with the rent, and I'm homeless now. I'm living in a shelter." All right. And then I went to the African woman next door. She was smiling. She said, "Well, I got a letter last week, and I'm really lucky. I've got a house of my own. I've got my own apartment now."
Yeah.
And with an African accent. Obviously, I'm not very good at African accents. Like that. And it's just like, and I don't know if they realise the irony of the situation. You had a native Irish single mum who was homeless, and you had a single African woman who'd just been given a flat by the Irish government.
How is that fair on any level?
It's not on any bloody level, is it?
But we've been talking about this for years. We keep importing people, and then we spend our money on the people we've imported, and they offer nothing to the development of the country. There's nothing wrong with these people. They're not evil. They're not inherently wrong. If I was, brought up in Nigeria, I'd want to leave that shithole and go somewhere better. Of course I would.
Yeah.
I don't blame these people, but as a native of this island, I have a vested interest in this island and a selfish reason for this island to do well. And we can't keep importing the third world. Because the question always is to these people, how many should we import? There's something like 1 billion people in Africa who'd like to move to the West. 1 billion. How many do we take? Because you might say 4 million. Some else will say 20 million. Some else say 50 million, 100 million. Where do you start?
Yeah.
So no one will ever give you an answer about how many people we should take